everyone. It's awesome to have you here listening in to this chat that I have with Lisa Coletta today. How are you, Lisa?
I'm well, thanks, Amy. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. I've been looking forward to this, to getting to dive into your journey. We've been working together for a little while and I've just seen your progress and it's been amazing to watch. So just for anyone that's coming across you for the first time, Lisa, I just want to give you a little bit of an intro, but I'm sure you can go into a little bit more detail around your story and how we're kind of here today. But I know you're the founder of the Governance Collective. You've coached and trained like well over 1,000 people now. You're the woman behind the scenes when it comes to board advisory, board governance, and all of those sorts of things as well, working with really great companies out there. I know you've worked with companies like Sydney Water, Sydney Catholic Schools, just to name a few, and of course the Executive Connection, which is where we've got quite a few mutual connections as well.
Yeah.
So it's awesome to have you here, and I'm looking forward to talking a little bit more about your business journey.
Oh, fantastic. Thank you. Yes, it's great to be here. Thank you so much.
Yeah. So I'd love to dive in. For those who might not know much about governance or might
Mhm.
not have like a real sort of concept around it, can you kind of just describe like kind of the work that you do and who you help?
Absolutely no problem at all. Well, Amy, I support a cross section of very senior leaders in organizations. I work with chairmen, directors, boards, shareholders, and C-suite leaders, as well as company secretaries, in helping them put really, really great governance in place. And so for those who might not know what that word governance actually means, it is around defining lines of authority and processes to enable the delivery of, the mandated requirements to run a really effective organization. And so there's, of course, the boards are stewarding on behalf of shareholders. So we've really great processes in place to support them in doing that, as well as stewards across the business delivering great governance frameworks so that the boards can make really great effective decisions. Things like risk management and compliance and other key frameworks to support the board in creating an environment where when they're making decisions, they can do it in a really comfortable, effective, ethical way. So that's
Yeah.
kind of it in a nutshell.
Fantastic. I know, it would be such a complex environment, to be around as well. Like lots of very hard decisions get made in boardrooms, and I'm sure you've been privy to a lot of them. And so it's definitely a really, really great place to be in. And how did you find yourself in this governance world? How did it all start
Oh,
for you, Lisa?
look, that's actually a really, really good question. A very, very long time ago. In fact, I've been in this space for around 20 or so years at different levels in organizations. And I found myself gravitating towards a lot of process-based roles where I was working in an organization and I was accountable for implementing policy that was being basically defined from a high and I
Yeah.
had to implement it locally in different areas of the business. And over time, I moved up the ranks and, within a couple of years, I was actually defining policy and recommending that onto the board for approval and then stewarding those policies throughout organizations.
Yeah.
And so I just found myself gravitating towards that, which is kind of ironic given that I'm a very right brain visual person.
Yeah.
And I work in a very, very very left brain world. And I think it kind of works to my advantage because, to be really frank with you, I don't like red tape. I don't like having really heavy, burdensome process implemented in organizations. I like the right touch, just enough, not too
Yeah.
much, not too little. So I think that because of the nature of who I am and how I play it, I'm able to sort of deliver that effectively. So
Yeah.
over time, I moved up in the ranks. And then after a little while, I realized that I really love enhancing and rejuvenating governance environments, and I'm not so great at maintaining them because I get pretty bored pretty quickly.
Yeah.
And so I realized that it was better that I actually, step out of corporate world and jump into different organizations from a consulting and a coaching standpoint to
Yeah.
support organizations, move along that line as opposed to staying in one organization because
Yeah.
I like to build, I like to create. So.
Fantastic. So you kind of built up your skills. You kind of knew that you had those skills aligned and you had that sort of process-driven mindset, but also could find the balance between a lot of red tape because I think it's important to have the compliance and have the rules and regulations in place, but to a point sometimes where it can kind of hinder progress and hinder things from happening. And so I love how you have that sweet spot between getting things done and moving things forward, but also doing it in a way that's really effective for organizations as well.
Yeah, look, absolutely, absolutely. No one likes to do things because they have to. They want to do things because they want to.
Yeah.
And while, compliance is there as a very, very important aspect of governance, it's one of many aspects. And when you set it up the right way, there's actually more benefits in complying than there is in doing it because you have to. And treating it as a tick and flick approach, which is, not as conducive to, achieving really great outcomes for the organization. And
Yeah.
as the way I see it is that you've got to do it anyway, so you might as well benefit from it while you're doing it. So,
Yeah. And tell me about that transition period for you, having decided that, okay, well, now I actually want that variety. I want to go and work with different companies, as you sort of mentioned, like it might have felt a little bit monotonous where you were. And it was like, okay, how am I going to really mix things up for myself? Tell me a little bit around that decision to go out in your own consultancy and what that experience was like for you in the beginning.
yeah, look, it was, like I guess like anyone who's had a long-standing corporate career, stepping out on their own is it's quite scary.
Yeah.
I know I was doing the right thing though, because I know I'm a builder and I'm not a maintainer. And
Mm.
so, unless I'm in organizations where it's very, very dynamic and I can actually, focus on, up leveling new and different areas of the business,
Hmm.
a huge amount of organizations can provide those types of opportunities.
Mm.
I decided to take a redundancy from state government here in New South Wales. My role was no longer required, and I was really, really happy to take that as a sign from the universe to actually step
Yeah.
out on my own. Of course, with that came quite a few challenges because while I might have been, or I am, a seasoned corporate governance professional, I'm not a sales professional and I'm not a marketing professional. And I did have some awareness and, I did lots of short courses and all those kinds of things that you tend to do when you first step out on your own.
Yeah.
Just like I did when I thought I could do my own accounting and my own BAS, which clearly I couldn't do. Clearly not my skill set.
Yeah.
It's one of those things where over time you need to learn what the high value tasks are and what tasks really need to devolve to people who really do know what they're doing, or at least getting the support in doing so. So I think I was quite fortunate for the first kind of 2 or so years of my business because through word of mouth, I was able to run my business quite effectively and do quite well. However, I realised that on occasion, some of the clients I was attracting were not necessarily my ideal clients.
Mm.
Because the work was there and the dollars were there, I'd be saying yes to things that I really
Of
didn't want to
course.
do,
Yeah.
like all of us do.
Yeah, especially in the beginning, you have to really start with what the work that's there, and then you can kind of really know exactly who you want to work with as well, sometimes just from being in the trenches.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And even to be really frank with you, I was hiding behind my brand a lot. I wasn't quite ready to step out as me. I
Yeah.
knew that my brand was the brand I wanted to carry. I knew that I had in a circle of really fantastic governance professionals working with me from a
Mhm.
subcontractor model standpoint, which was really
Mhm.
great. However, for whatever reason, I just wasn't quite ready to actually be out there and be Lisa Coletta from the Governance Collective and have that voice probably within the 2 or so years of me starting out. And of course,
Yeah.
then pandemic hit and dynamics changed over time.
Yeah.
And I started realizing that for people to hire me, they need to get to know me and then they need to get to like me and then they'll hire me.
Hmm.
So while other people didn't know who I was,
Yeah.
I wasn't actually, getting a look in any way, shape, or form with some of the work that I would have really loved to have done. So that's where I started having to sort of refocus and change my approach.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's really common as well. I made that transition and leap out of the corporate space as well. And I think we go from being under this company brand umbrella where it feels quite safe and comfortable, and we've got team members around us that can fill the gaps on the skills that you might not necessarily have. And then when it comes to stepping out under your own umbrella, it can feel, really daunting. And sometimes when you put a business on top of yourself, all these insecurities that you didn't even know you had just start bubbling to the surface, and you're like, what is this?
Look, absolutely. I mean, even fundamental things like going to networking events and introducing myself as, my own brand and who am I and what do I do and, who is my target market and all those really quite fundamental things that you'd expect to have as part of setting up a business because you want to maintain whatever momentum you have because you're almost too
Yeah.
scared to stop. You don't really get to stop and think, wait a minute, am I actually attracting the right clients? Am I actually working in the space that I really want to be working in? And even, am I charging the right rates? Am I, all that kind of thing. And because like attracts like, I guess like for many of us, I had some clients there that I probably would, steer clear of a little bit now, only because they're not quite ready for the level of governance that I feel like I'm, deliver and provide them in their business
Yep.
because of their own business maturity as well as leaders. We actually go through a learning phase over time as well around what our needs are.
Hmm.
And so lots of lessons were learned, Amy, lots of lessons.
I can imagine. The power of hindsight, right? Where you can go back and just, retrace your steps a little bit. But
Yeah.
it's all building resilience, and it's all building what we need, to have in terms of the skills that we need to possess. And when every time you step up a level in business, you become a new version of yourself, and you kind of have to in order to get to that next level. So I'd love to hear from you, like when you're in that place where you're kind of figuring out, like, okay, I've had some traction, I've had some momentum, I've had some people coming through my network, but all of a sudden you're now realizing, well, maybe there's some better clients out there that I want to work with. And, maybe I need to kind of step out from behind the brand and really kind of show a little bit of yourself and in your words, to be, liked and hired by others as well. What kind of challenges did that throw up for you in the business at the time?
Look, it actually threw out quite a few challenges because I found, like a lot of us do, when you jump on something like LinkedIn, you see a lot of people who are, in a very similar field to me. There's a lot of us out there.
Yeah.
Who seem to be really, really clear around their positioning, who they are, what are they there for, what do they stand for, have this, I guess, narrative and persona around how to communicate that to an audience that they clearly know is there. And for me, I needed to define all of that because I knew what work I enjoyed doing.
Yeah.
However, the communication process in that world, or in this world that we're talking about, is actually got nothing to do with me and everything to do with the clients. And that's where I think the sweet spot is around communication. I can sit and talk about myself all day. However, really, the biggest switch for me really is around what the client's pain points are and their needs, and how what I can actually do can support them to move them forward to wherever they need to be.
Yeah.
And so that was kind of one of the biggest sort of challenges. One of the other challenges I found as well, of course, is that after having such a long corporate career, even my language needed to shift and change.
Yeah. Tell me
So,
more about that. What do you mean?
yeah. So what I was actually finding was that I was attracting a lot of high net worth family run businesses that weren't corporatized. So they weren't used to me talking about, control frameworks and all these sort of, delegations of authority and all these key language points that were just so naturally rolling off my tongue. Was incredibly alien to my target market.
Yeah.
Yet I knew what I could deliver for them, would make the business owners or managing directors or executive chairs sleep better at night.
Yeah.
And it actually took a lot for me to actually reframe a lot of the concepts that I was just used to rolling off my tongue in a way that was actually relatable for that target market, especially given that, as I said, I knew that delivering great governance in those environments was going to be really important for the organization's future success. And so it took a little bit of time. And I think the real key, Amy, is know thyself. You really need to know yourself really, really well to get a really good picture around how you can position yourself to support your clients that way.
Yeah, I think you raise a really good point there as well, is we almost have to unlearn a lot of the things that we're kind of used to and indoctrinated in the corporate space when we kind of step out into the entrepreneurial world, because it's a completely different ballgame. And a lot of your skills and experience and everything can carry across in terms of the work you're delivering. Like a lot of coaches and consultants I work with as well, like love the work that they do with their clients in the trenches, and that's their kind of jam. That's what they love. That's what they're really good at. But when it comes to the marketing and the sales side of things, there's a lot of learning there, and there's a lot of, practice and evolving and reiterating things as well. And I think you absolutely nailed it when you talked about getting in the minds of your clients and your future clients and the clients you really want to reach, and thinking about, well, it's not about how I talk, it's about how they talk and how they receive things, and really meeting them where they're at.
Yeah, most definitely. It was definitely one of the biggest shifts, I think, for me, to be able to be relatable and even just, speak on the same wavelength, get that same level of understanding. But at the same time, recognize, because while I do a lot of consulting work, I also do a lot of training and mentoring work, that as part of that, supporting them in aligning some of their understanding and language into more corporatized terms is actually, it really does support them longer term. Especially as some of these big businesses are actually growing and they're actually attracting really outstanding candidates for roles that are external to their families now. So they get these wonderful university graduates and whomever else, and they actually speak Lisa speak. They don't necessarily speak family speak, and so to support these family businesses, especially realigning their focus and language around better governance practices, has been really valuable for them.
Yeah.
They can relate to their workforce a lot more, especially as their businesses grow.
Yeah, definitely. Being that bridge, between the two worlds is really, I think, important, and a skill that you have, which is great, from your experience. And I'd love to hear a couple more shifts that happened for you as well. Like as the business started to grow and we kind of moved through this inflection point where you're kind of heading in a new direction of the kind of clients that you really want to work with. I know LinkedIn was a part of your journey as well, and we've worked on that. So I'd love to hear like what was sort of two or three kind of big shifts that you had that started to really increase the momentum of your business?
Yeah, look, I think one of the first big shifts was starting to work with you and in your team, Amy, because I had this view, and I know you probably remember our conversation really, really well.
I
But
do.
I believe that I believe that my target market wasn't on LinkedIn, and in fact, I believe that my target market, there was no way to reach my target market because they just didn't actually seem to be out there in any way, shape, or form. And because I was doing some LinkedIn hosting, I
Yeah.
wasn't really getting a lot of traction around my posts. I know not a lot of conversation. I didn't feel that the right people were really seeing or responding or, providing any level of indicator in any way
Yeah.
around the time and effort I was putting into the LinkedIn world. So
Mm.
I think the first shift I had, after the decision for you and I to start working together and for me to start your program was for me to recognize what the real indicators are for whether people are actually out there or not. And
Mm.
we talked a lot about these LinkedIn lurkers. I'm sure you
Yes.
call that. A lot of my target market are those LinkedIn lurkers. They're not actively on LinkedIn, but they're seeing and they're reading, and they are actually reaching out offline a lot more now, more than ever. So I've implemented your program. I think one of the other key learnings or key shifts is recognizing that the more clarity I got, or the more clarity I have around who my target market is,
Mm.
the more clearer and more relatable my communications are through LinkedIn,
Yeah.
and the more they're actually attracting the right people in the right way.
Mm-hmm.
And again, as soon as I had clarity, it's almost like you put it out into the universe and then, they all come.
Yeah.
It really is one of those things where you try to be everything to everyone and it doesn't work,
Mm-hmm.
but really refining and getting really, really clear around who my target market is and speaking to them pays dividends. And it enables me to really realign all of those efforts. And I was putting a lot of time and effort into LinkedIn, and I still do, but not as much. I think my focus around LinkedIn is very different now because I'm not trying to recreate myself every time I'm posting. I've got a really clear picture of who I am and who I'm speaking to.
Yeah.
And at the moment, as part of that, which you no doubt know, is that I'm really focusing on supporting leaders and amplifying their impact in the boardroom.
Mm.
They want to support leaders, regardless of whether they're the chairs, directors, the C-suite or COSECs, being really, really effective when they get that opportunity to be in that boardroom environment and, take the opportunity in a way that enables not only them to put their best foot forward, but also support the organisations in moving towards their goals. So
Yes.
I've been focusing quite heavily on that. So,
Yes.
yeah. So I think that those two things are probably the most key. I think the third is actually just a change in me, to be really
Mm.
frank with you.
Yeah.
I think that we're always looking for synchronicity and evidence that our efforts are actually, are landing or are aligned with, sort of this higher purpose that I think all of us have, that drives us within us.
Mm.
And I think more than ever, I'm actually personally feeling that I'm moving towards where I really need to be and attracting the right kinds of people, the right kinds of relationships, the right kinds of clients, the right kinds of circles around me where there's really great equal and fair exchange and everyone wins.
Yeah.
And that we also, I think, collectively really value and understand the community that we're operating in. And that's
Mm.
made a really big difference as well. So
Yeah.
that's my three, Amy.
That's
That's my
three. I love it. I love it. And I do remember our first conversation.
three. I know.
And
I
I
thought,
remember you telling me, and I'm like, they are there. I promise
no,
you
they're
they are
not
there. And you're
there.
like,
They're
no,
not
they
there,
are not.
Amy.
They're not there. And I'm like, Lisa, I've got you. Let's go. And I think it's been awesome to see you, number one, like just really throw yourself into it. And I think having that strategy and having that plan around it, like you said, it just means that your efforts aren't wasted. You can try and fail and try and throw things at the wall and see what sticks, or you can just go in with a plan and a strategy and just get really clear on that, because then it means that your time is better spent with your clients and working with better clients and all those sorts of things. Whereas you just want to be able to use LinkedIn and your marketing just as a tool in the business to help you grow without it sort of consuming your whole world, unless you want to become a content creator, which I know wasn't wasn't the
On my
plan.
plan. Certainly
Yeah.
not my plan. Yeah, look, I think you're absolutely right. And I think it's one of those things too where you can approach these kinds of things in a couple of different ways. I know we've talked before about the difference between evolution and revolution.
Hmm.
Prior to your program, I think I kind of felt like I needed to create a revolution, with every post. And I did that to myself. I basically built pressure on myself around how important the next post was going to be on LinkedIn, as opposed to going, well, wait a minute, it's part of an evolution. And, you never know how the, the LinkedIn algorithm works anyway. I've still got posts bouncing around from a year ago that I'm still
Yeah.
getting likes for. And I have no explanation for why. I'm, providing comments and, responding to comments and feedback around that.
Yeah.
I think it's one of those things where, like many things, I think that if you actually step forward with the best intentions and you're putting your best foot forward at that point in time, regardless of where you're at in your
Yeah.
business, regardless of how aware you are of, your journey or level of awareness of who your target market is, any step forward is still momentum forward.
Mm, mm. Absolutely love that. I think, we have the perfectionist in us all at certain places. So as a recovering perfectionist myself, I totally get it.
Um,
And I think it's really, really good to view it as an evolution and to really look at being able to learn and increase your skill set and really learn from what's resonating with your market over time. But doing it in a way that you don't have to spend years and years and years trying to figure that out. You can do it quite quickly and effectively as well to grow the business. And I'd love to hear from you, like since you've started really implementing the plan and the strategy around that, what's been the real business results that have come from it from LinkedIn?
Look, really, really good question. It's actually been quite surprising. And as we've talked before, I like to see that evidence. I like to see that it's actually working. Show me, show me, show me. Show me, not a tell. I'm a show me, not a tell me person.
Yeah.
Just like the governance world, show me, show me.
Mm.
A couple of, I guess, resounding things have played out since I've started, this planning and the program with yourselves. One of the most memorable is that utilizing, your foundations and the elements, I updated my LinkedIn profile,
Mm-hmm.
which is, your main LinkedIn page. And literally the day after, I actually had an ideal client pick up the phone and leave me this amazing voicemail telling me that I was exactly who they were looking for, and that in my page, especially my about section, really resonated really, really strongly with him and the dynamics he currently has playing out in his business environment. And he really wanted me to give him a call to have a conversation around, potential opportunities. And we have since done that. And I am actually working for them at the moment, which is
Yeah.
awesome.
Amazing.
Which is incredible. And, when I look back at the shift, my LinkedIn profile was about me and it wasn't actually about my clients. And one of the key things I think that was a really valuable shift around my profile was talking about me in the context of what I can do for my customers, as opposed to who I am and my background and my experience and, how great I am, as opposed to what I can actually do. And, be really, really clear and decisive. And sometimes we've got to get out of our own way too, Amy.
Absolutely. Yeah. What was the biggest sort of thing that you were finding was in your way?
Look, I think there are a couple of things. I think first of all, I had to give myself a really good talking to, a bit of an attitude readjustment, and trust the process, because
Yeah.
sometimes, if you really do strongly believe that your target market aren't on LinkedIn, you're putting that out into the universe.
Mm-hmm.
And so I sat back and I thought, well, you and I had this conversation. You're assuring me, and I didn't know you, like you, and trust you. I
Yeah.
hope, I said yes to the program, and I thought, well, if I'm actually going to make the commitment, then I'm going to put in 100%, because Amy's putting 100% in, her team are putting 100% in. I've got to match that. And so I think that was probably one of the biggest shifts, just realigning. And the second thing I think was getting really, really clear about my positioning and my target market and my niche.
Mm.
That was important. And it wasn't just important because I wanted to attract the right clients, but it was a foundational element for everything else I've been doing.
Yeah.
And so, for example, I'm offering free masterclasses around amplifying your impact in the boardroom at the moment.
Yeah.
Whole framework and structure that I've built around that are the foundational elements for all of my communication strategy on LinkedIn.
Mm-hmm.
So doing that one piece of work has enabled me to be able to springboard from a lot of different directions and a lot of different perspectives when I'm talking about what it takes to, be really impactful in the boardroom.
Yeah.
Without that piece, I wouldn't have been able to do that as effectively as I feel I have been. So
Yeah. Yeah. And I love that because you're showing up, you're adding value, to your market, you're booking calls, you're booking clients from it as well. And so it's been, really awesome to see you making those shifts. And I think at all different elements in business, at some point in time, we all have to get out of our own way, some level for some area. And so when you actually had that client come through, and I was like, I don't want to say I told you so, but no, I
I
told you so.
I knew you were thinking it, even though you're too polite to say it, I was just like, yep. And I knew, and to be really, really frank with you, writing the profile was easy breezy once I knew who I was.
Yeah,
And once I knew who I was talking to.
that's
And,
it.
because we can't be, I had a CEO once say to me, Lisa, I know you can do absolutely anything,
Hmm.
but you can't do everything. And that was a really valuable piece of advice because, even now, all these years later, I was probably about 10 or 12 years ago, if I think back, he was really right. I know I'm a very capable, competent person, but I can't be everything to everyone. But the fact that I actually get the luxury of choosing what is it that I really want to do and I'm passionate about, and let's put that out there and actually, earn a living through doing it, I feel a lot of gratitude. I feel like I'm a very, very lucky person to be doing what I'm doing and receiving what I'm receiving, including the learnings and the opportunities that are coming along the way.
It's so awesome to see, and I love that because it can feel really counterintuitive, particularly as coaches and consultants. We do have a natural want to help everyone and make an impact, and we do have, a variety of different skills and experiences, and you would from your corporate career that goes not just through governance, but through lots of different areas. And so it can feel really counterintuitive when we say, let's just really refine in on one particular premium client and who we want to work with, because we can feel like we're cutting out a lot of the market. When in actual fact, like you've been experiencing, it allows people to actually raise their own hands and be sold on you before you've even had a conversation, like that person reaching out from your profile to say, they're talking to me and I need to work, with this woman, because it's just like, there's no one else out there for me because she's speaking directly to me. So it becomes the absolute opposite, but it takes a little bit of getting out of your own way, like you were saying, and breaking through some of those fears along the way as well.
Look, I think that's right. And I think the other thing too that we don't realize until we're actually experiencing it
Mm.
is that you're actually using the energy within you in a very, very positive way.
Yeah.
Because, we only have so much energy. And if
Mm.
we're going to be throwing our energy towards, anything, given the amount of time we spend at work versus home and, family, work-life balance and all the rest of it,
Yeah.
why wouldn't you want to, invest in energy enhancing things that really, I guess, make you feel like you're achieving and you're satisfied and all the wonderful things that we want to get out of life, as opposed to throwing our energy towards things that don't give us joy. It's, why do it? Don't do
Exactly.
it.
I
Don't do
think,
it.
yeah, most of us make the decision to leave corporate because we want more freedom. We want
Yeah.
control over our own schedule. We want to do the work activities that we actually really enjoy and that lift us up and light us up, and work with the people that really bring us joy and make the impacts that we want to make. And then I think for a lot of business owners, when you start your business, you can find yourself in the complete opposite world where you're doing admin work and you're doing all of these sorts of things that are just not what you thought it was going to be. But it does take you moving through that and having the right systems and structure in place around your business and the right support as well, so that you can kind of move through those phases and actually be in the position like you are now, where you have that ability to pick and choose the clients you want to take on.
Yeah.
You can manage your own schedule, you can do all of the things, be a great mum, be a great friend, all of the things.
Yep, absolutely. Absolutely. And it's kind of like, if you asked me 10 years ago if I'd be doing this now, I probably would have said I wish I was, I'd love to, but there was a level of fear and all the rest of it there. And I've been running my business for about 6 years or so now, and I wouldn't have it any other way. So it's actually been really fantastic, and it continues to be fantastic.
It
So
does. We're only just
yeah,
getting started, really. It's
that's
great.
it.
Yeah.
That's it.
Really
Yeah.
cool. So what does the future look like for you, Lisa? Like if we were talking in 12 months' time, where do you see yourself and the business?
Wow, that's a really great question. I think that there's a couple of different aspects that I'm currently focusing on in my world. I'm in the process of writing a book at the moment. I'm in the early stages of writing a book, and I'm hoping that my book will support leaders in
Yeah.
applying really, really great governance in a way that means that they're doing it in a really reasonable and, right-sized way, as I mentioned earlier. I think it's one of those things too where I think for a lot of business owners like myself, we'd love to continue attracting really fantastic clients.
Yep.
And while ever I can continue to do that and work with some amazing people doing some really outstanding work, I'd love to continue with that. I'd also love to continue, being able to support my inner circle of governance specialists with really great work as well. And and I guess broadening my horizons a little bit further beyond Australia. I have done some work outside of Australia, and I'm hoping to continue to do so, and maybe even include some travel in there as well. That'd be really nice.
That would be quite nice. Ultimate lifestyle is being able to integrate some overseas trips with some workshop trainings. We had Sophie in the tribe did a leadership training in the Maldives last year and had a bit of a holiday off the back of it. So all of that's great. The governance collective going global. I love it.
Look, why not? I say why not? I've got a passport. I'm ready to travel, so why not?
Yeah, perfect. No, that's awesome. Well, I've absolutely loved seeing your journey, and I know I speak on behalf of the entire team as well, that's been supporting you along the way, but we've absolutely loved seeing your progress, and as I said, we're only just getting started, so this is fun.
Yeah, it is. It's
just the beginning.
Fun. It is fun, and it continues to be fun, so it's been really great. Thank you so much, Amy. Thanks for your team.
Yeah, that's awesome. And just for anyone that, might be watching this who might resonate with some of the things that you kind of experienced or were kind of feeling at the beginning, and maybe they're kind of tossing up whether the in-demand program is for them, what would be your advice for them?
Look, I think it's actually a saying that you say more than once, Amy. I think start before you're ready. I think if you actually wait until you're ready, you're never going to be ready. I know I'm speaking for myself when I say that. I did sign on knowing that I was a little skeptical around whether my target market were out there or not.
Yeah.
I think the sooner that you start and really use your intuition, really dig deep and think, you know what, this is taking me outside of my comfort zone, but at the same time, I'm ready to learn and I'm open, trusting the process and taking on a different perspective that that you're currently carrying. I say do it. Do it now. Don't wait.
Yeah.
Don't wait. Do it.
Yeah.
You won't regret it.
Love that. I do say that a lot, don't I?
I do say that. I do listen to you, Amy. I do listen, in case you're wondering.
It's because it's true. That's great. Lisa, I've really appreciated you being so open and sharing today. And I know that people listening to this will get a lot of value. And I think for other leaders out there that might be of need of your services when it comes to their board governance and really starting to get very strategic in the boardroom, where can they contact you? Where can they find you?
Oh, there's a few different ways. Jump onto my website, which is www.governancecollective.com.au. And there's actually a nice little button there around a discovery call, and you actually get to spend a little bit of time with me to talk about some of your governance challenges. So I encourage you to get some of my time if you'd like to have a chat.
Yeah. And they can find you on LinkedIn as well, I believe.
Oh, yes, of course. They can definitely find me on LinkedIn. Yes, you'll find me there. Lisa Coletta, Corporate Governance Change Leader. So you'll see me there as well, of course.
Yeah. Absolutely. Well, thank you so much, Lisa. I really appreciate your time.
Thank you, Amy. It's been great.